Hello everyone. This is episode 2 of live researching a Victorian fraudster and bigamist. If you missed episode 1, I've put a link in the description. It's worth catching up on if you want to see the documents. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do a brief recap here using this slide for everyone who doesn't know what happened in the first research session and who wants to know what we're on about today. So I need to put my glasses on because I can't see a thing. So let's do that first. There we go. Oh, that's better. Fabulous. I can actually see. So the chap we're researching, he appeared in the newspaper reports as Hugh Titus Crawford. And the newspaper reports were covering his trial at the Old Bailey in 1891. It said in the reports that he had married Florence Grosset and tried to extort money from her mother to help with the mother's son's conviction. He made up a story that the son had a second conviction and that he was a police officer and could get her son off the second conviction if she handed over money. Then his intention was to marry Florence, which is what he did, but of course he was already married. He was married to Alice Mary Ann Adams, and they had married in 1888. So the courts caught up with him for the fraud and for the bigamy. From the records and from the newspaper reports, we can say that he said he was born about 1855 in Scotland and that his father was George Mackenzie Douglas. The newspaper reports also highlighted that he used all these other names. So there's James Arthur Dillon, Captain Dillon, and the Hugh Thomas Douglas appeared on his first marriage to Alice Mary Ann Adams. So with all these names, I thought right from the beginning that he was going to be probably an elusive chap. At the end of the last session, we found the marriage, and I had to leave it there because I thought to myself, I don't think at the moment I can come up with a strategy. I need to go away and think about it because the other name really did shock me. Having thought about it, I thought today what I was going to do was try out all these names on the UK National Archives catalogue and then start looking through them in the newspaper reports and probably in some of the criminal records. So I think we'll start with the National Archives. Let's change here and I'll do a Google search. National Archives. Discovery. I've searched for it many times. It comes up, of course, automatically for me. So this is their main page. And we're going to go to search catalogue. And I'm going to go to advanced search. I don't expect to be able to look at anything today. There may not be records that have been digitised. It is a case of seeing what there is for him and new information that may not have been in the newspaper reports or a clue to new information that wasn't in the newspaper reports. So we'll try the name which we came to know him by, and I'm going to use the phrase box so it searches for all those words. Nope. James Arthur Dillon. Nope. Of course, he may have been known just by James Dillon or Hugh Crawford, that may bring up too many. 266 results, most of which will probably be military. And I think there's probably little chance of distinguishing individuals like this who appear in the catalogue with our one. It will take quite a bit of legwork going through them all, eliminating them, the ones that really don't fit, and then we're left with a handful that we probably can't eliminate. And we're still no better off, really. In many ways, we might have to do a lot more work to arrive at a decision about, oh, this is our one. So I don't think it's worth it going through ones that just share one or two parts of the name. So we've got Hugh Thomas Douglas. Captain Dillon, well, I'm not too sure that's going to work for us either. Wait. Come on. So we get some, but it's 1808 up to 1839. That's too much. Too early for him. Too early. 1799, 1834, 1777, 1814, 1680, 1757, and so on. And of course, it's highly unlikely he was a real captain anyway. 1812, that last one was. Just browsing through these. And there clearly was one who was active earlier on in the 19th century. No, they're all too early. So that was a dead end. That often happens with research. So what I thought I'd do next is try the ancestry criminal records for some of these other names. We know that as James Arthur Dillon, there should be something. There should be something there. Well, give it a go. I couldn't find anything for Florence Grossett's criminal brother. Get rid of that. Over here on the right. Used it a bit. James Arthur Dillon. Come on, you're going to be there, aren't you? You see how many there are? That's probably not him. And look at the birth dates, for one thing, of all the people that share the same name. Is this going to be any different? It's not a very detailed one. It's not like the calendar. You can see that from here. There he is. Attempted fraud. I think this is telling us what we knew before. The only thing that's different here, James Arthur Dillon, attempted fraud, 18 months imprisonment without hard labour. So this makes me wonder whether there wasn't an earlier offence or whether there was one and of course the authorities didn't know about it. Right, so that's that one. So it didn't really tell us anything different. Hugh, I'm not going to search for Thomas, Captain Dillon, on this, just these ones. Hugh Thomas. Douglas. There's quite a few here. Who knows, really? 1869, 1880. 1880. That's Lancashire. We don't know where he was. It's quite a distance away from London. But if he was one of these criminals who was constantly committing offences, he had every reason to leave the area he may have originally been from. Here he is, Hugh Douglas, this one. Receiving stolen goods, knowing them to have been stolen before convicted of felony. So we could follow this one up in the newspapers, which often are the better resource for a lot of criminal trials rather than the court records. But I'm not going to, because I don't feel that this is obvious and because I spend hours doing this, and that's the last result. In a lot of research scenarios, it really is the last resort. You want to come back to this, file it away, and then think, I can't get anywhere else. Let's go back to that one. I don't think there's anything over the page. It's all going to be Thomas, 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 Thomas. And yeah, he could have dropped his first name. They did that and then went by the name Thomas. That is one possible scenario. I'm going to get rid of this. No, I won't. Just in case I need to come back to it. I won't get rid of the summary. I'm going to come here and go to the British Newspaper Archive. So one thing that came up at the end of the last session with that marriage, and I found the first marriage, but I couldn't find the marriage to Florence. And I said at the time, I believed that was because it took place in a registry office. And registry office marriages aren't online, or they don't tend to be unless somebody's uploaded them. And that's why you can't find a marriage sometimes online. Quite a few have been digitised over the last decade, but not the registry office ones. So yeah, that might be the reason why. And indeed, when I went and I did a little bit of research after the last session, and I discovered that he had indeed been married at Marylebone Registry Office. So that proved why I couldn't find the marriage. Let's have a quick drink. Elusive marriages, that's often the reason why. I've had a cold recently, so it's really affecting my nose and throat, unfortunately. And the other day I watched back my first live stream, and I was like, I really lacked energy, and nobody watched. And I can understand why. I wouldn't want to watch somebody who was like zombified. Hopefully, I will improve and be my normal self. What am I doing? James Arthur Dillon and Hugh Thomas Douglas. I'm going to use advanced search. I'm going to use the exact phrase box. Hugh Thomas Douglas. Nope. So you may want to know a bit about my background. You may not. You may not care. Oh, look at this. This is a report from the same time of his fraud case. Oh yeah, we'll have a look at that in a moment. So yeah, you may not care, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I started life as a librarian. I was also running a side hustle, doing research, mainly for myself actually, but I was doing it for other people at the same time as being a librarian. I then started a research business in the 1990s, and I have been researching ever since. I also managed to get my postgraduate qualification in history and research. I've not finished it. One day, I'd love to go back. Money is an issue. Postgraduate work is a cash cow for universities. It's not that hard to get on a course. You can walk in, practically. They want your money. They also want you to pass. So they do their very best to help you to pass. But yeah, I would like to go back, just finish it off for my own satisfaction. I don't care if I'm 89 when I do it. It's for me, and it should always be really for us than any other reason. Yeah, it helps with jobs and stuff. Not when you're 89, but it can help. Or it can hinder. There's so many graduates that can't get a job. Right. This noise in the background, if you can hear it, is my other computer. I have to have two on. It's making a bit of a racket. I think that this is going to repeat some of the stuff. Just quickly. Yeah. No, it doesn't. There's some new information here. Okay, let's read. I always promised to read in my last session, and I'm going to continue to do that because I know that there are mobile users out there, and you won't be able to read this. I certainly can't on my mobile if it appeared on the screen, so I'm going to do it for you. Charge of false pretences. This is in 1891. Extraordinary evidence. At Marlborough Police Court yesterday, Hugh Titus Crawford, alias Dillon, was charged on remand with obtaining by false pretences between May and August £210 from Mrs. Grossat. This poor woman's name has been mangled terribly in all the reports. Occupier of the Wheatsheaf Public House, Portman Square. Details of the case have been reported. George W. Saxley, station master of Morton, Yorkshire, gave evidence that in 1879 he was present at the marriage of his sister, Sarah Elizabeth, with the prisoner as Thomas Henry Dillon. So another marriage and another name, or a variation on the other name. They lived together at Scarborough, and there were 2 children of the marriage. God, minute. Christ on a bike. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I am a Jesus fan. I figure he wouldn't mind if I said Christ on a bike. Alice Mary Ann Adams, Brighton Road, Redhill, stated she was married to prisoner as Hugh Thomas Douglas in 1888. Stop for another drink. She left him in January 1890 in consequence of ill treatment. Florence Edith Grosset gave evidence of her marriage with the prisoner, who threatened to kill her if she did not consent. Prisoner was committed for trial. Bloody hell. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? When you first encounter someone like this, they seem, a bit fun, a bit of a character, as my dad would say. But actually, on a deeper level, he's a really nasty piece of work, if this is all true. I still can't believe, though, there's another name and another marriage. So what, I've got a tree here. I'm going to add the other wife. Let's go back to the tree. No, that one. Who uses Ancestry? Does anyone use Ancestry? I know there's no one here watching. No, there's no one here watching. It doesn't matter. I'm happy to talk to myself. I'm happy to talk to myself. I want to know if anyone uses Ancestry or they prefer My Heritage, Find My Past. Tell me, what do you prefer? Not daughter, spouse. Sarah Ann. How does one spell the surname Saxley? Saxley. Put that marriage on, and that says, I haven't put the other marriage on. It says, doesn't say when their marriage took place, but that it was at Scarborough. I think I'm going to do something here on Ancestry. I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to go to this and that, and then add some of these names, because the algorithm might pick up records with these names. Doubt it, because I don't have huge confidence in Ancestry. Thomas Douglas, Thomas Henry, Dylan. I can't get over that. I wonder how many marriages he had. It's kind of a known trait with these fraudsters. They'll marry women that, and vice versa, may have a little bit of money. They won't be very rich. They might be middle class. They might be gentry, just enough to get a bit out of them. And often what happens is they take as much as they can get. And at this day, a man owned his wife. There were acts during the 19th century where women started to be able to have their own possessions. But the earlier types of fraud like this, whatever a wife had, suddenly became the man's. Anyway, they would leave them in complete poverty and destitution. And I've seen cases where the victims would take their own lives in the end. It's kind of sad. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. Not to want to live. I have to try and think of ways to say these things because I'm always going to be covering sensitive subjects. That's life, isn't it? I want to. What do I want to do next? Tell me. I suppose I want to find this marriage. Yorkshire. They lived together at Scarborough. And there was. The marriage was 1879. Hello. Oops, don't have to do that. 1879. Just make sure that I didn't suddenly leave this screen. So I'm going to add marriage. 1879. Under Thomas Henry. We don't know where it took place. We can find that out. She says with absolute certainty. Okay. Okay, might have to search for it all separately. As in the different names under Sarah and so on. Hugh Crawford. It's still using Crawford. It's not offering me much else. So I could try her. Come on, Sarah. Yeah. Stop the nag screens, please. Get rid of that. And once Ancestry gets something in its head, it wants to carry on searching for that name. So it's still offering me Crawford. So I have to be exact. Isn't. Nope, we're not going to do it that way. We have to do it this way. Oh, we might have to try find my past. DeLorme. Try the marriage first. Sarah. I keep forgetting it. Terrible to have this type of memory. And it was 1879. I can see I'm not going to get much further today. How many sessions is this going to be? Oh, look. The first one. It's just a transcription, which I don't like. Don't like transcriptions. There's a birth entry. Civil divorce? Well, there's quite a lot going on here. So we've got a transcription. At least it's given me the date and the place and his father's name. For me, a transcription is simply not good enough. Now have a brief look at this. They said that they had children. This must be one of the children. Amy Elizabeth Dillon. Mother Sarah Elizabeth, father Thomas. Club steward. Okay. Right, so what's it got here? This is one of his children with Sarah Elizabeth. So it took place as a baptism in Pontefract, 1885. So he married Alice Mary Ann Adams in 1888. And we've got a little girl born 12th of January 1885, Amy Elizabeth, parents Thomas Henry and Sarah Elizabeth Dillon, living in Pontefract. His profession is a club steward. What club? Who knows? Don't know what they are in that area. So that's that. Obviously, I still want more details of the marriage. There's a census record and there's this divorce. Is this divorce him? 1896. She divorced him. So she had some money because divorces were expensive in those days. So she filed it in 1896. So this was after he'd been convicted and served his sentence for trying to defraud Jane Elizabeth Grosser and his bigamous marriages. And she was granted final decree in 1897. Interesting to see what her evidence says about him. Can I read it? Bell Roderick and Gray of Ormond House. Great. Emily? Sounds like a T. I think these are solicitors. Yeah, I think they're the solicitors. Petition filed, affidavit of service with citation annexed, and affidavit of search for appearance. Petitioner set down cause and filed certificate. And that's in the Central London Probate Court. Dillon vs. Dillon. I want the evidence. It will be cruelty. I'm quite sure it's going to be cruelty. Sarah Elizabeth Dillon, then Sarah Elizabeth Saxby. Spinster Thomas Henry Dillon, the respondent. There's quite a lot here. It tells you about bigamy with adultery and desertion of the petitioner for 2 years upwards without reasonable excuse. Is there ever an excuse for something like that? Bigamy, adultery. It says Saxley there. And it looks like it says Saxby here. That does look like a similar B to that. B. Yep. There may not be more. Doesn't look like it. It looks like this is the end of the file. Oops. Come over here. See. Nope, she's given a statement. I, Sarah Elizabeth Dillon, of the Station Villa, Moulton, in the county of York, the wife of Thomas Henry Dillon, the petitioner, in this case make oath and say as follows. I was on the 30th day of December 1879, being then Sarah Elizabeth Saxley, spinster, lawfully married to Thomas Henry Dillon at the parish church of St Mary, Scarborough, in the county of York. That after the said marriage I lived and cohabited with my said husband at Dingwall, Westbury, and other places, and at Pontefract, in the said county of York, and that there has been issue of our said marriage, 2 children, to wit, Alisa, well, we'll have to try and find that one. That's, it's something Nelly. Looks like an S. That could be an R. Yeah, we'll have to come back and have a look at that. Nelly, born on the 20th day of October, 1881, and Amy Elizabeth, born on the 12th day of January, 1885, both of whom are now dead. Oh, God. Poor woman. That on or about the 11th day of July, 1885, the said Thomas Henry Dillon left me, and from that time down to the present, being for the space of 2 years and upwards, he has lived separate and apart from me without reasonable excuse. I am informed and verily believe that on the 5th day of August 1888, at the church of St Peter, West Hackney, in the county of Middlesex, the ceremony of marriage was duly performed between the said Thomas Henry Dillon and one Alice Mary Ann Adams, myself his lawful wife being then alive, whereby the said Thomas Henry Dillon committed bigamy, and that from and after the above date, particularly on or about the 31st day of August 1888, the said Thomas Henry Dillon and the said Alice Mary Ann Adams lived and cohabited together as man and wife, and have on divers occasions committed adultery together. Stop for a drink. I will go back, I think, check that marriage and the name, possibly try to find the actual marriage before I end today, because boy, this time goes so quickly, so quickly. And before you know it, it's typical with research, you've done very little, but the time just keeps moving on. I'm informed and verily believe that on the 2nd day of July 1891, at the office of the Registrar of Marriages for the district of Marylebone, in the county of Middlesex, the said ceremony of marriage was duly performed between the said Thomas Henry Dillon and one Florence Edith Grosset, myself his lawful wife being then alive, whereby the said Thomas Henry Dillon committed bigamy, and that from and after the above date, particularly on or about the 11th day of July 1891, the said Thomas Henry Dillon and the Florence Edith Grosset lived and cohabited together as man and wife, and on diverse occasions committed adultery together. No collusion or connivance exists between myself and the said Thomas Henry Dillon in any way whatsoever. Sworn at Moulton in the county of York, the 2nd day of December 1896, by Sarah E. Dillon, S.E. Dillon, before me, Thomas Walker. Wow. No cruelty, but indirectly cruel is how I would describe it. Two things then. The child, the name, her correct name. What does it say on the transcription again? Saxby. So it says it on the transcription. It says it in the divorce records. The newspaper account, as usual, is wrong. Always check the information in newspaper accounts, because they get things like this wrong. Always check everything, to be honest. Just what my years of research has told me. Sarah Ann Saxby. Okay. So we know they married at Scarborough, and it was the 5th of December, I believe. Scarborough. But what I'll do is I'll wait till I get the marriage. I'm sure I can get the marriage somewhere. Let's go back to her again. Another search. Nag, nag, nag. That's possibly her. I don't know where the USA comes from. There's all Crawford, Crawford, Crawford. Get rid of that. Pop that on there. Do it again. He's not going to like it because of his name. So I might have to put his name in. Thomas Henry Dillon. I want the actual marriage. Can't believe the time raced by. Let's go for this. Yeah, we've got that one. It was 30th of December 1879. Not here. I don't believe you. I don't believe your ancestry. What riding is Scarborough in? Anyone? No one's watching. Don't expect an answer, Michelle. No one's watching. According to this, no one is. Wait one moment. I should double check on here in case this isn't working properly. No. Hello. It's me. On my own. Story of my life. Before I bother with the writings and everything, this is east. I'm going to check Find My Past. Might be easier. Because if it's on here, I'm not bothering with doing all that. 1879. Please. Hello? What's this? The wrong one. No, it isn't. Wowzers. Too much, Michelle. Too much. Oh, a bit more. Let's do 30th of December, 1879. Thomas Henry Dillon. Sign his name. He had some level of education, which was not the norm at this date. It had improved, but not until we get to later on that we start to see a bit more in the way of general education. She could write as well. Sometimes people could only just write their names, mind you. Do you know what this says? It says butler. So he was 32 in 1879, 36 in 1891. I tend to believe the earliest records more. So this is putting him at 1848-ish. 47? I tend to believe the earlier records more when it comes to ages. In fact, in general, details about a person, the earliest that I can get them, I tend to find the more accurate the information is. So that's the earliest I can find them on a record. Might be wrong. You know, there's always exceptions. But in this case, who knows? But he says he's a butler. He's living with her at Tyndall Street, Scarborough. He says his father is Henry Dillon, deceased, and that his father was a shepherd. Sarah's father, George, is also a butler. So maybe there's some crossover there, which is how they come to meet. On his later marriage, Hugh, Thomas, James, whatever we're going to call him, said his father was George Mackenzie Douglas. And here he's got Henry Dillon, deceased. Okay, let's add this. 30th of December. 30th of December. Don't need to bother with that now. Don't need to bother with the ridings. She was born about 1854. I probably will need that for any census. Because if they had kids together, that's the other thing I've got to do. I'll do that before I sign off today. If they had kids together, the chances are they might be on a census. Might be. 1881. After all, there was a census for her. 1881. Children first. We're going to presume, obviously, all the children registered under Dillon, both of them. The baptism was new website. Going to use A. What's happened there? What have they done? Okay. Do it this way. always something going on with them. Always. Well, I'm not going to do it that way. I can't do it. And then I can't search for the other child's birth. That's thrown me completely. So there was a baptism of Amy. Let's go over this again. I wanted to do it. This family tree says there was an Amy. Where was she? I can't remember what collection it was in. So I'm going to do it like this. It's Amy. Saxby. Thomas. Sarah. I'd quite like to do this before I sign off today. And we're going to have to come back. I hate your ancestry. It's because I put in the wrong name. Shocking, isn't it? So it's this collection. Okay. I want to know what the other name, the child's name was. It could have moved, and so it might not be here. Nearly finished today's session. We are going to have to come back and continue. Who'd have thought this guy would give us so much fuel, so much to search for, that it's going to last for 3 sessions? No. Right, so we're going to have to do the child the next time. We can use another website, which is currently displaying very suspect information. I'm not going to use it to sign in. I'm going to leave it and wait till it comes back to normality. Instead, I want to go and look at the census. There was an 1881. Is she Sarah? Oops, that's one. And Dylan, or him. Scarborough. Oh, yeah. Hello. There he is, right at the bottom. See it? So where are we? We are got the 1881 census. We're in Scarborough. Look at the way they've abbreviated it. West Square, with number 11. So there's Myra, Butler's wife, Sarah Dillon, Club Steward's wife, Palin Saxby, son of Myra, Professor of Music, Thomas H. Dillon, son-in-law to Myra, Looks like he says he's 31 here. That's a very strange letter. This one, right here, letter, number. But it looks like the one up in 61. Anyway, he's a club steward. Where's he born? Where's he born? Barley, Cheshire. He said he was born in Scotland. Oh. Well, that's a cliffhanger, isn't it? You'll have to tune in next time for episode 3 to find out if we can get him in Cheshire. Find that other child. And if there's anything else about the fella. He's a good subject though, isn't he? He's a good subject. Given us 2 hours of, I wouldn't say fun, but a chase. And I do love a chase. Anyway, if you've watched this, and if you watched the other one, I thank you very much. I'd love to build a community, and I would love for you to send in your research requests, particularly if you've got someone like this who might be able to help. We might be able to all do it together. So yeah, I'd love for you to join in. I'd love for you to join in. I'm going to say goodbye. Bye. Join me for the next session. I'm not sure when it's going to be, but we'll carry on with Thomas Henry Dillon, aka Hugh Titus Crawford, in Harley, Cheshire, wherever that is. Bye for now. Bye for now. I have to leave this stream for a moment like this because it cut me off last time.